through the second half. So to start off the second half, we go to a salute position, and then first thing is just like the first one, we pivot, open the offset horse, set up your elbow, corner back fist. Okay, sliding step, punch. We cross, 1, 2, 3, push. 1, 2, 3, push. Okay, now we step up to the corner. 1, punch. 2, punch. Okay? Once we get to this position, we turn directly to that side with a corner back fist and a punch, corner back fist and a punch. Step up in this direction. 1, 2. Place your hand on the forearm here and slice. Sliding step, punch. This is just like the elbow in the second form. Elbow, strike down, back fist. So you see how common some of these movements are? So even though this is a pillar form, has a lot of fundamentals. Side kick, cover, so you're up about shoulder height. Then when you shift down, you thrust to the eyes, sink down, and we're like this. Okay? So you're like this, you bend forward, corner back fist, and when we turn, we have to be in that corner, and then the feet a little narrower, you jump, spread it out, point your elbow, okay, water punch. Okay, so once you land, back fist, up. But it's done as one movement. 1, high block, sliding step, palm. High block, sliding step, palm. Step up, okay, press. So actually here, 1, 2, you don't do the high block, press. It covers and then trap. Sorry. Now that turns into this position and uppercut. Now we're breaking it down. This goes here. You hop, punch, pull back to offset, punch. Dragon claw. So this is actually reverse. Comes in like this. Stomp. This goes around. Sweep. This goes back and you push. Adjust. Cover. Big is a vertical elbow. Step up. Corner. Black tiger. Okay? Cross this way. Dragon claw. So this is a little longer than this one because you're reaching, you're going away, and then you're going to turn. Chun-kill, sliding step, punch. Go to cat stance, cut. Big, grab, sliding step, punch. Cat stance, cut, big, 1, 2, 3, punch. Here, foot, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Set up your hands, cat stance. Now we're going to the corner. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but now I'm back to center. On the back side, leopard, cover, big, black tiger on this corner. Set it up, sliding step, punch, pull back, turn, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so going through that form, I broke it down a little bit more. You know, some of the important things as far as body form and structure is, you know, everything is reference to spaces on a body. High gait, middle gait, lower gait. So all our techniques are designed for that. So we do the high block that's in the high position, middle block or middle is in this section, and so forth. And down here, even though you can go below the knee, you can always move your leg. So if someone were to kick to your shin, you're not going to reach down to block that. You would actually move your leg, you know, depending on, that's what footwork is designed for. Now, when we're doing this form, you notice this movement, this movement, and this movement are really designed to take you in two directions. But fundamentally, you have the corner back fist and the punch, corner back fist and a punch, corner back fist and a punch. So, one of the, parts of training your form is to focus on different components. So, what is a drill and what is a drill used for? Drill is an exercise. So you have to take out different postures and you work off of those postures to develop your technique. So if this is all you want to develop, or this is what you're working on, that's what you have to focus on. So you look at the movement, what is it? You're in the corner. If I'm here and I step to the corner, I'm here. If I step to the corner, I'm here. So you see that's the two corners. So that's your goal, is to go in this direction, go in this direction, go in the, so that teaches you to take this movement to that corner and the opposite corner. Now, because we're breaking one, horse stance to leaning, horse stance to leaning, there's a transition, so your body will develop the idea of how to move from here to here to here. Now, when you use this, it's not necessarily 1, 2, 1, 2. That's for training, or practicing the timing and the position here. Because every position, if I'm here, that's a position, okay? When I'm here, that's a position. When I'm here, corner back fist, whether it's here or here, that's a position, that's a punch. This is a horse stance with that. So we have this already. Right? So that already we have a format for that. When we go from here to here, that becomes a transition, because if I'm here and something were to come here, I would have to do this, right? And then my punch would come off from there. So that gives you a direction to respond in and also have a structure for the position, right? So that's really what, forms are essentially developing, is directional movement mapped out so that you can work off those transitions. But any one of these combinations of movements can be extracted to practice as a drill. So that's what drills are. So, what in most martial arts, what's a basic fundamental drill? Punching and kicking. Those are the most basic. And you do those over and over again, could be hundreds of times, thousands of times, depending on what your sort of training regime is. Maybe you want to work on your front kick and the back kick or whatever a lot. So that's what you would do, is just focus on those and get in a state where it's actually effective. Now, when we do this as a drill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1. So any one of those movements can be used. If I go here and I go here, and I go here and go here, so there's no difference. What I did was I focused on these two hand movements. If I go like this, so the thing is, you're working that. So that's really basic, but it's very effective. Now, if I go like this, that's actually almost simultaneous. So if something comes in, I strike like this and strike like this, that's another approach to the same movement. But what did you learn from doing this is this and this. Okay, so when we learn this, it's in this frontal format. But when I go like this, now I have this position. If I turn my hands to here, I have this position, right? So if I go like this, 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 and this, you see the structure? That structure becomes part of your muscle memory. So to understand body form and how you interpret those movements based on what you've learned is really, part of your training. It becomes a stage after sequential memory. It's because sequential memory is purely to house those movements in. But there is a benefit to sequential memory in forms, because there's a mental aspect in the programming of what we develop as brain plasticity and, orderly movement. So, as humans, your brain and your mind, everything can be pretty chaotic, not very systematized. So someone that's systematized and has gone through this process, even when you're young and you're learning this kind of thing, it builds tremendous sequential memory, the idea of repetition and what it takes to become pretty good at something. So this doesn't apply just to martial arts. It applies to music, it applies to mathematics, it applies to everything that requires an understanding and a memory of, what 2 and 2 is. It's 4, multiplying, the multiplies. What did we used to do? A lot of systems use the route system where you kind of memorize multiplication tables. You don't know what they mean, you just memorize it. Well, in Chinese, a lot of things are just memorized. It's a crash memory. With Chinese characters, sequential type things, you just memorize them. So what do? You build tremendous brain storage and the ability to see something and then capture it and then memorize it. So when you memorize form, that's one of the big benefits of it. But once you memorize it, it's only housed here. You translate that information to here, into the body. The body language, the body learning of these movements. When you hear, these are really skills that are developed into the body because your body develops, the positioning, and then you develop the understanding of the body mechanics is based on the geometry of position, and along with the geometry of position, you develop the understanding of how transitions work, and I call them transitions without voids. So what's a transition without void? If I go like this, and I'm going to go over there, and I wait till I go like that to do that, then there's a void. What is the void? I left the emptiness here without actually completing the movement. So if I'm here, if I'm going to go, I have to move like that. That's what it's for. If it's something coming here, I have to move like that. So that's a form without void. So when we do this, all of our Hongao moves kind of blend together and they track like that so that we can go from one position to the next. Just for instance, a trapping hand. We go to a cutting hand and a palm. That's what happens in the fourth form, right? When we're here, thrust, 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 up, down, cross, 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these movements become part of what we're doing. You don't just do 1, 2, 3, right? We don't do it like that. You learn it like that, but you don't actually do that. You go through a phase of having 1 at a time, and then it becomes 2 at a time, and then it becomes an integration of the idea of what it feels like to go through those motions. So your body becomes very astute, becomes very intelligent as to what not only the movement is, but what it feels like. What it feels like. When you're doing the uppercut and you remove, what does that move here? Why have a little bit of pressure here when you move? Because without that connection, you can't actually relate to what would be happening. So that's why if you capture someone's arm and you do that, it's removing. But if I capture and then break it up and do it like that, you don't have a sense of what the timing is to do that. So just taking things down to very basic things, because I use that as an example, because we can all do a middle block and a punch, a corner back fist and a punch when we're here. That, and last class last session I did a praying mantis form. It's similar to this. It's the same idea as a slice across, right? So you slice out. So you have to tie your body in positioning in, because if I just go like this, it's really not enough, and your body doesn't connect to it. So that's what body form is. As you progress, what does a beginner eighth form or Fuku and advanced as far as technique is really not the sequence, it's really the execution. So as your understanding evolves, the execution, the timing, all of this comes into a factor that becomes part of your skill level. So that's something that will constantly evolve. And that's why it's very difficult just to use a form as a grading system. You can use a form as a grading system on the novice level, but as you progress, everybody's going to evolve differently. So that's, the skill level will vary. So, in the old traditional schools, there wasn't really a skill level based on rank. It was based on a hierarchy. So assuming that the longer you practice, the better you should be, but that varies too. You could have started when you were very young. You're 60 years old now, but you haven't practiced for 50 years. So even though you're a senior, your skill level might be, not at that senior level or advanced level. So, it really varies so much. But, without going too deep into that, we just have to understand that we practice and we enjoy what we're doing. We have to practice and understand each and every one. So this is called each and one of these things. This is a cover hand. It's called a bik jang. It's your elbow. So it's called, I call it vertical elbow, okay? This is a pao jang, which is horizontal. So the difference between this and this is left to interpretation, but bik jang is really close to the body. Pao is taking it horizontal, and you never go above your shoulder level in this, and you never have your elbow out like this. You never cover and do that. It has to be supported here through your body, okay? So if I come down, that's a circle. You should just go direct. 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? Now I know some styles will add this to embellish the movement, and maybe they feel that that's building it into the training, but the effectiveness of the movement does not have this in the motion, because you don't have time to make numerous circles here. So you use the directness of that movement from here, and you go up. So that doesn't mean that circles are not valuable. It just means that you have to know which part of the circle to apply the technique to. So because we're creatures of habit, you want to go with the directness of the movement, so your response is going to be exactly that. So that's part of why, when we do something over and over again, you could create good habits, you can create bad habits. And habits are something that once you've put into your system, in order to change it, you have to break that habit. So you actually make the learning process twice as difficult, because first you have to break it down and relearn it. That's really, it's someplace you don't have to waste time on if you're just going directly like here. Just go direct. So that's really something you should understand, especially on the functional and efficiency type of movement. Like if I'm punching like this, say in the first form, I remove and I punch. Why do I do this? I remove, and then my hand goes out a little bit like this before it comes in. That becomes part of the mechanism that the hand does go out and it comes in, comes out and goes in, so that you know from your reaction that your body will move from one position to another. So it's really the manipulation of your shoulders, your elbow, and your torso. Your torso movement is another one of the methods. So last few classes I've talked about hand, eye, body, waist, and stance. Well, the body is how your body moves from one position to the other in increments of 45 degrees, right? So if you're here, if I turn like this, my body form is like this, it's like this, like this. All of those body forms become part of your transition, and all of these body forms become part of what we've learned from our structures, right? So when we do movements, we really have to, imagine that space. So if I'm here, why does it just go here? Because that's what's happening. Your cutting hand and your bik, and then your grab. So when you're here, one, this is your form. So this is what you have to perfect, is the space in your movement. I'm here, cut, bik, you grab, right? So this is not up here. It's here, shoulder, right? Your hands are like this, right? So there's your position. You grab. Now you're not grabbing like this, you're deflecting and grabbing. And then when you go like this, you pull down and punch. I don't pull it back here because you have captured here, and then you strike. cut, pick, grab, punch. Cut, pick, cut. So this is really moving around and punching. And you would, so that, those two movements are a drill. You work right and left side. Now if I go like this, or go like this, that's the butterfly hand movement. 1, 1, 1, to get the body form and the hand to create the correct cycling of the movement. And then when you step here and push, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, right? When you bring the hand here, it's like this. So the hand, when you make a circle, and I mentioned earlier a circle, when my hand is down here, this becomes your cutting hand. Okay, so you have this from the cutting hand here, right? So, or even from here, you have your cutting hand. So those are an idea of separating like this, and then either thrusting or palming. Here could go like this, here can come like this. So there's variations of what this palm will do. So the thing is, when we set up like this, you set up for a palm. When you set up like this, you set up for a punch. So all of these are basically fundamentals in movements, okay? So I go in here again, cut, pick, grab, punch, step up, cut, pick, grab, and punch. Now, you can cycle through those. So you're here, I take my step, I turn my waist, I sink and I turn in the stance as well, right? So what, you learn the hand movements, then you learn the body form, right? The body method, and then the leg, how it adapts and how you relax in the lower half of your body to tie that coordination from the ground up to the top. So in the beginning, we learn the movements, we're working from the top to the bottom because we're learning your hands. Then when you get past the sequential side of the hand, you go from the legs, and you work from the bottom up. And then they combine together. Then the legs and the hands will work through your body. Because if we turn, how does your body become part of this movement? It's called upper-lower coordination. If you don't have the upper-lower coordination, you're isolated, the legs are separate, the hands are separate. Really, you can't be effective in movement without tying it to your legs. So the mabu, the stance work is very important. So just in the suspended horse, you take your step, you take your position, you take your step, you shift, turn, step. All of this are parts of the spatialness within the footwork. So if you're working muscle memory in the hands, what about the body? What about the muscle memory in the legs? So all of this stuff become, when I bring it up, it heightens and maybe opens up the way you're thinking about how you should be practicing. And if you haven't heard these ideas or these concepts, that's one of the reasons why you're stuck, in your training. So you have to open up your horizon as to, what you're trying to achieve. So there is stages of learning, and when we go from, intermediate to advanced, how do you jump from intermediate to advanced? You don't really, you just kind of cross that, sort of that line, that threshold to take you to the next stage of learning, which not necessarily in your execution, because you probably want to learn the next form that you feel is more advanced. But while you're advancing, learning the next level of form, go back to the intermediate side to catch up with your strategy of learning to improve your skill. So when you actually cross that line, your skill level and your new form that you're learning will be heightened as well. So that's kind of part of the process of learning and evolving. But it's, it's not easy to distinguish or, build that understanding the first time around. So, martial arts, especially traditional martial arts, has a lot of concepts and ideas that you have to really build as an understanding. And it gets deeper and deeper and deeper as you progress. Otherwise, people that study traditional martial arts, if they actually have the patience and the fortitude to get through all of the levels, then you will progress and get tremendous benefit out of it. So, I speak off of, not because my teachers and my grandmasters have reflected all of this information and I just store it here and just spit it out at you saying, this is what you need to do. I actually practice over the number of years, and it's been a long time. So I'm not telling you from what's in the book or what's being said. I'm telling you from the experience that I've gone through from what I was told and what is expressed in the book or whatever is the method that they actually transmit this information to you. So, book learning and on-hands training is, they go hand in hand, and they're, in some ways different as far as how you would evolve. So as a person that has gone through this level, with all this information, if I put it into a book, then that's actually a book of knowledge from my experience. And then you would take that information. If you just read it and say, well, this is what he said, it's still not actually going to benefit you until you take what I say and do it till your body goes through the process and you experience it. Because so that's the true journey of a martial artist, that you have to go through this winding road until you reach the end. And, we don't know where that end is. So if you're interested, you should stick with it and stay on track with it, and don't rush your learning, because there's no way to get to the end of the road if it's a winding road by some shortcut. I mean, you could fly there, but it's not going to help you in between. You've missed everything during that journey. So on that note, I'll see you next week, actually. This Saturday, I'll see you during the first of the week. Hopefully you got something out of this, and review this, get as much as you want from it, and each stage of understanding will continue to, become more clear as you watch this. So give us a thumbs up. That's the position that I'd like you to be in when you're doing any of the YouTube stuff, and subscribe. Thanks.